Okay, in this tutorial, we're going to learn how to do keyboard input. And I'm not talking about allowing the user to type text into a text field, because we already learned how to do that, right? No, I'm talking about sensing whether a key was pressed, a specific key, and then having an event happen or an action happen because of that. So for starters, I guess we can just, well, let's see, what does it say? In addition to button clicks, we can use keyboard input to trigger actions as well. When a user presses a key, we can check what key they pressed using a special code each key has. So let's just copy this into a new file in our favorite text editor, Caret. Let's make a new file. Paste, save, and let's save this as keyboard press. Alright, let's just keyboard input.html. Let's test it out. Let's say Command O or Control O and choose keyboard input. And it says press the arrows or press the arrow keys to test if this worked. So we press an arrow key. Let's try pressing the right key. And it says right was pressed. Press the left key and left was pressed. Down. Oops, I accidentally pressed both. So down key, up key, they work, right? And it says using the keyboard input and positioning that we learned about in the previous assignment, previous project, let's set up a controllable movable object. And then I have just a few instructions right here. It says to start by creating a variable that will hold the current x value and the current y value of the object. So let's do that inside our script somewhere in here. Let's just say var x, and then we could start it at 0. Start the y also at 0. And that would be the top left of the window as soon as it runs the program. It's the top left coordinate. Okay, and then it says in the key press events, which we already have right here, or actually the key down event, because there's different events that could fire. If you wanted something to happen as soon as the user lets go of a key, then you could do key up. If you wanted to do just right when they first press it, key down is the way to go. Okay, so in those events, let's add code to increase or decrease the appropriate x and y values. Now, one thing that's not explicitly stated here is we're going to actually have to have an element on the page. As you saw earlier, there isn't anything else here other than the text. So let's add an element. Let's say div, and then give it an ID. Let's call this one green square. And let's close that div. Okay, so this isn't going to look like anything until we give this some styling. So we need some CSS. You could, of course, just copy and paste what we already have from the previous one, but I'm going to do it here. So green square is the ID that we're formatting, the element that we're formatting here. Giving some style to. Let's say its background color is green. That would be honest, because that's what it's called. And some operating systems, I believe, have a different definition for green than others. Like it could be more of a yellow lime green or more of a jungle green. Anyway, but there are preset values. Or maybe it's just different browsers that interpret it differently. But anyway, so there are preset colors here. So green, of course, is going to produce some sort of a green color. If you wanted to be exact, of course, that's where you'd have to come up with the H or the hexadecimal code for it. So let me show you how to do that really quickly because I just talked about it in the other one. Let's try color picker. And you'll notice right here we've got an easy way to pick a color, right? You can change the hue, you can change the saturation, the darkness, lightness. All right, so if we want this to be our color, it gives us the hex value for it. So I can copy that. Let's make this smaller again. Let's set that to be our background color. And then let's set its size. So we'll say its width is 40 pixels, and its height is also 40 pixels. And we need the positioning to be absolute in order to actually move it around, right? In order to put it at a specific point on the screen. And we already decided that we would start it at 0, 0. So let's say left 0, top 0. All right, let's save that. And there it is. Okay. So we need to, when we press right and left and up and down, instead of just alerting the user like it does right now, instead of just alerting me that I pressed the key, I want it to just take that input and move the object accordingly. So instead of telling me to alert, or instead of alerting me that the left arrow key was pressed, in this case, I'm just leaving that little note there for me so I know that it's the left event. I press the left key. Let's just change the x value. So let's say x minus minus. How does that work? That sounds good. And in the case where it's the right arrow, that would of course be plus plus. In the case where it's the up arrow, that would be, here's the tricky one because it's inverted. Instead of increasing y to go up, we would decrease y to go up. And then the opposite is true for the down arrow. So down arrow key would make our y increase so that we go downward. Okay? And in order for it to actually move this object, because right now we're just playing with these variables x and y, they need to be used somewhere changing the JavaScript or changing the CSS through JavaScript of that particular element. So we need to find that element by the ID green square. Actually we need to do that inside of the event. Say var green square equals document get element by ID, and then plug in that value green square. And then inside of here, actually as soon as all of those are done, just before that process is all complete, we just need to set green square's y, or its top to be the y, and then its left to be the x. So I'll just say green square dot style dot top equals y, and then green square dot style dot left equals x. All right, let's test that. Now if I press right, it's going really slowly, right? If I press down, it goes really slowly, but it does it. If I go up, same thing. If I go left, it works. Okay, how do we make it go faster? Glad you asked. Instead of increasing and decreasing our coordinates here by just 1, we could make each jump be like 10 pixels. So to do that, we could just say x minus equals 10, x plus equals 10, y minus equals 10, y plus equals 10. Now it's going to jump 10 pixels each time. See? Now that's not a very smooth movement. And part of that is just because it's not registering the Keydown event very quickly. And we could, of course, make it smoother if we just added some transitional animation, but that's something that I might show you how to do in a later tutorial, because that gets a little bit more in-depth. But just know that anything you might want to do, somebody else has probably already done it. There's probably a way to do it. So don't feel limited by just these few things that I've shown you how to do in these tutorials. There are plenty of other tutorials online. Okay, so feel free to turn that in.